Hello, guys. Welcome to the new year. Crypto Sunday, first one of the year, and it's a green week, up about just over 7%, 32,000. And yeah, it's been sort of fairly good week all round. Bit of recovery after sort of a relatively tame correction, I would call it. We sort of haven't had more than 20%, I don't think, since the top. So yeah, people still getting sort of worked up on Twitter from the looks of it, but yeah, we haven't seen sort of anything like the 30 to 35% that we used to get back in 2017 and sort of once or twice in 2021. But interesting. So no coin shares report this week. I guess they're still on holiday, but we do have the flows for this week. So Ethereum first has been sort of a little bit up and down, really, sort of gone nowhere for the week. We had small outflows from everyone on the Monday. Tuesday was sort of small inflow, nothing really happening with BlackRock. We had New Year's Day, and day after sort of reasonable amount of inflow, bitwise sort of a fair bit out, and then positive for the Friday. Sort of overall, yeah, looks like a little bit negative for the week, but nothing too much. Bitcoin sort of kind of similar all over the place. We have been seeing fair amount of outflows, as you can see. Monday we got another 415 million. On New Year's Eve, it was basically dead. 5.3 million overall net inflow, but with outflows from BlackRock again. And then New Year's Day, and day after, 330 million outflow from BlackRock. I think that's one of the largest that we've seen. Obviously, still 1%, less than 1% of total assets under management, but there's a little bit of a sell-off. But inflows sort of in the others. So yeah, 240 million outflow, and then a fairly solid rebound from everyone on the Friday. Only 250 in from BlackRock, but 357 from Fidelity is pretty good, and 222 from ARK. They've been sort of seeing fair amount of inflows, 6 days in a row, and then sort of a break, and another 3 days in a row. But that 222 sort of wipes out, pretty much all of their outflows since the 23rd. So yeah, 908 million overall for Friday. So yeah, we'll have to see where things go. Now it's a new year, but looking positive for first sort of couple of days at least. And we had the last, what I believe is the last purchase of Bitcoin from MicroStrategy for a little while, until earnings at least, and it was the smallest buy, 2,138 Bitcoin for 209 million at 97,837. Again, everyone was sort of kind of laughing that as this was announced, it was lower than that, so they bought the high. I think they bought 5,000 Bitcoin at 106,000, I think it was, and it was sort of 10,000 down when they announced it, and then they bought this, and it was sort of 4 or 5,000 down when they announced it, and he sort of came out with his, if you're not buying the top, then you're leaving money on the table, and sort of, yeah, everyone kind of criticising a fair bit. Now it's sort of back slightly above this price that they bought at. And they have announced, and they might not be allowed to buy any, I don't think, but they have announced that they're looking to raise 2 billion through perpetual preferred stock. So whether this is another avenue that they haven't really gone down, they've issued standard shares and they've issued convertible debt, but I don't sort of recall them issuing too much of preferred stock. Sort of any avenue they can, I suppose, that they feel is untapped. But yeah, so another 2 billion in the first quarter. I think they have they're going for their 42 billion over 3 years. It looks like they've sort of front loaded that and done quite a bit. They're probably well ahead of schedule, so maybe they don't need to do much more than 2 billion for the first quarter. I suppose if you think this year is going to be a really good year, then it would be worth front loading as much of that as you can, and then maybe cool off as things go up. Although I can't imagine they're ever going to sell it. So this was a little bit of a concern. I've been sort of highlighting a lot of different sort of entities getting into Bitcoin mining that so far haven't been, and sort of potentially how many more could, like energy companies and sort of the sovereign states that are wanting to mine for their own government. And we've got sort of another fairly large one just coming online now, a Chinese automotive transaction service platform. They sort of wanted to branch out, maybe sort of car sales are a bit quiet, and they're sort of a big company, and presumably don't think $400 million is too much to spend, and they are buying 50 exahash worth of Bitcoin mining power. So it's looking like they're buying 32 exahash worth of new rigs from Bitmain, which it looks like they're going to get Bitmain to run themselves. They're not sort of looking to actually sort of self-mine. They're basically doing a contract mining idea. And the remaining 18 exahash, sort of reading as this is already online, and they're acquiring it from Golden Tech Gen, firm owned by Bitmain's CFO. So 18 is just changing hands, but 32 is going to be coming online fairly shortly, which is sort of obviously quite a big hit. That's sort of 4%. The extra 32 would be sort of 4% of existing hash rate. Yeah, they're sort of highlighting, these are November numbers. They're a little bit on from here. CleanSpark are a little bit bigger, and Riot platforms are a little bit bigger. I mean, it's basically adding an entire sort of Riot platforms in the space of a couple of months once this sort of comes online. From what I gather, Bitmain can put these online fairly sharpish, and they've sold the rigs, and it's just gonna rocket hash rate up and reduce profitability for everyone. You can see sort of on the chart, this is sort of maybe what some of these spikes are. We got on the 1 day average, we got a 911, where we were sort of solidly in the 800s. Just sort of looking at the 7 day average, that's peaked up as well, probably with that spike. So you got to sort of 800, 817, 806, where we were sort of in the high 700s. And obviously the 30-day average is much sort of slower pace, but still trickling up at a fair pace, up to sort of 785. This is pushing the difficulty up. We had a raise on 29th of December, just last week, up from 108 to 109, and this is, this extra hash rate is still pushing down times, so they're looking for, at the moment, a 2.21% increase to difficulty on the 12th, next Sunday. So yeah, these numbers always change once you get closer to the time, but it doesn't look like it's going to be coming down anytime soon. I kind of wondered whether you would get some of the less profitable miners switching off. I suppose if they are the older rigs and less profitable rigs, then switching those off makes a lot less difference because they are lower hash rate. The sort of increase in power, the new rigs are sort of 10 times more hash rate than rigs from 4 or 5 years ago. So it takes an awful lot of rigs to shut off to actually make a difference. And when you've got people adding, 32 exahash in a couple of months, then that makes a huge difference. So yeah, not a lot of confidence in the public miners. I will probably be accelerating my sales of them maybe a little bit faster than I was originally thinking. It's been reported that Tether is sort of declining slightly in market cap. Obviously, it's still, $1. It's not broken the cap or anything. Just a little bit less demand means they're sort of, basically deleting shares, if you like, rather than issuing new Tether. and yeah, it's sort of a 1% decline. It doesn't look like it's, much of it's only sort of a small correction. If you look at over sort of the last 2 months since the beginning of November, Teva's up about $18 billion and USDC is up about 9. Sort of the reports are basically saying this sort of decline is due to people delisting it, several European exchanges and Coinbase being asked to remove USDT due to the EU regulations. It doesn't seem like it's having too much of an effect, sort of up $18 billion in the last, or it went up $20 billion and then has dropped back sort of 1 or 2. I would see that as a good couple of months, really. And yeah, USDC sort of up 9, so it's certainly not taken a huge amount of that dominance, but yeah, it's always been a non-EU, non-US stablecoin, really, sort of rest of the world, and USDC is for those markets. So yeah, it's being reported as a sharp decline, but I wouldn't really call it that personally. And lastly, we've got FTX finally sort of paying out their big fund from the looks of it. The bankruptcy proceeding took effect on January the 3rd, and they're saying sort of within 60 days of that time, people should be receiving their funds. In particular, people who are claiming $50,000 or less. Yeah, they're expected to be paid 119% of the declared value of their funds. That sort of sounds great, but of course, if you held, one Bitcoin on there, Bitcoin was about $18,000, I think, when they went down. So you're getting, 19% more than that, as opposed to sort of one Bitcoin being $97,000 now. I guess, when they went bust, sort of a month or two after they went bust, most people would have been expecting to lose everything. So yeah, getting the dollar amount back that it was then, sort of people now obviously will see it as awful, but back then it would have been not so bad. And yeah, the hotly debated number, they're expecting to pay out around $16 billion. A lot of this, if so read into it, a lot of this has already been bought by various firms, sort of a year ago, 18 months ago, like people were buying others' claims, expecting that this would eventually get paid out, and debtors were sort of accepting 50% of the amount that they would eventually get to sort of get paid out early, expecting that they would get nothing. And so, yeah, institutions have sort of bought these claims for 50 cents on the dollar and are now getting a full dollar, or, more than $1.19. So, yeah, a lot of people are expecting that those sort of institutions would just keep that money. It was sort of originally talked that this would be likely a good portion of 16 billion going back into crypto, but yeah, I think people are saying sort of half to 2/3 of this has already been bought up by various institutions who have basically no interest in crypto. This was just a legal arbitrage, if you like, buying 50 cents for, or buying a dollar for 50 cents, and they'll get their dollar and they're happy with it and they'll put it elsewhere. Some of it will be going back to people, of course. You might get, 5 billion going directly back to people, and then some of those will be just happy to get some of their money back and run away. Some of those people may want to sort of put it back into crypto, but it's certainly not going to be 16 billion. I wouldn't have thought. You might get sort of a couple of billion going back in, and then it depends where that all sort of goes to. It'll be spread around various coins, but yeah, looks like we'll see this sort of within 2 months. So looking at coins for the week, it's a green wall, no surprise there. Bitcoin up 4.3%, pretty nice. Solana has been sort of providing quite a lot of the gain though, 11.3%, and you'll notice sort of on the pie chart it is over a quarter now, 29% of the pie. So yeah, not too bad. Ethereum up about 8%, Chainlink up 9%, Gala sort of one of the outperformers for the week, 15.6%. So that's pretty nice. Power Ledger up 13.5%. Quant 2.2. Internet Computer up 15.7%. That is the top performer, slightly outdoing Gala. VeChain 10.5%. Audius 2.4%. Basic Attention Token 6.7%. And Matic 7.5%. So yeah, not too bad from some of these. I need to reorder them, the smaller coins, and yeah, we'll have to sort of see what this new year brings us. So yeah, let me know how you guys are doing, if you're interested in anything or if you're selling anything, and like and subscribe. See you soon.